Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to be exploring reflections. So a reflection is a transformation that flips the figure across a line. And taking a look at my Bitmoji, I can see that my image flips over my line and it almost looks as though you're looking in a mirror. This line is called the line of reflection. We can reflect a figure over the x-axis or the y-axis, and we can also create our own lines. Let's tell which of the following are examples of a reflection. Number 1. So I see that I have two figures here, and they both look exactly the same. The only thing that has changed about them is their location. One of them is on the top of my line and the other one is on the bottom. This is not an example of a reflection. Number 2, I see a similar situation where I have two figures that look exactly the same, and the only thing that has changed is where it is located. So one of them is on the left of my line and the other one is on the right. This is not an example of a reflection. Number 1 and number 2, they would both be examples of translations. For number 3, I can tell that my figure has been flipped over my line, and it now looks as though you're seeing the figure in a mirror. So this is a reflection. Let's identify the coordinates of the image. So we're going to reflect the image over the x-axis and identify the coordinates of point H. I underlined the x-axis because my directions are telling me exactly what line we're going to use to create our mirror, our new image. So I'm going to take each of my points. Let's start with point J, and I'm going to write it on the other side of my line. So if point J is located at +2, +1, it is now going to be located at +2, -1. And I'm going to label it with an apostrophe so that I know that it's a copy. If point I is located at -1, +5, it is now going to be located at -1, -5. And point H is located at -3, +2. So it'll now be located at -3, -2. If I connect my lines to form my figure, I am able to see that this is a flipped picture of my original, and I can state my coordinates. So H is located, and we said that was -3, -2. Let's reflect the image over the y-axis. And we're going to identify the coordinates of point W. So here is my y-axis. This is the line that we're going to flip over. And I'm going to flip each point individually. So if W is located at -2, 0, on the other side of my graph, I can plot it at +2, 0. For point U, it is at -5, +1. So now I'm going to plot it at +5, +1. And point V was located at -4, -2. So now it will be located at +4, -2. I can connect my lines to see my image. It looks good. It looks as though we flipped it across our line. And now I have to write my coordinates for point W. And we said that its new location is going to be at 2, 0. Try these examples. Which of the following is not an example of a reflection? So option A, I see that I have two triangles and they look exactly the same. It looks as though I just took one triangle and I changed the position of it. So this is not an example of a reflection. This is actually a translation. Just to make sure, I'm going to look at my options B and C. For option B, I am flipping my image over my horizontal line. And the same goes for option C. I am flipping my star over the vertical line. It is a mirror image. Identify the coordinates of the image. Reflect the image over the x-axis. Identify the coordinates of point B. So in my directions, I can tell that we are going to flip it over the x-axis. This is the line that we're flipping it over. And I'm just going to slowly start to move all of my points on the other side of this line. So if point C was located at -2, -1, it is now going to be located at -2, +1. Point D is going to be located at -2. If it was located at -2, -3, it'll now be located at -2, +3. Point B was originally at -4, -1, so now it will be at -4, +1. And A will be located at -4, +3. I'm able to see my reflection, my mirror image. It looks good. So I can state my coordinates for point B are at -4, +1. Let's reflect the image over the y-axis. Identify the coordinates of point S. So here is my y-axis. I'm going to start to move over all of my points. Making sure that I'm counting my spaces and not missing anything. So here is my reflection over my line. And now I can name point S. So point S is located at -3, -2. Let's apply what we know. So looking at these options, which transformation does not belong with the others? So option A, I notice that I have my two hats and it is actually flipped over my vertical line. They're facing opposite directions. So this is an example of a reflection. Option B, I have a very similar response. My hat has been flipped over my line and they are no longer facing the same direction. So this is an example of a reflection. Option C, my hats look identical. I look as though we've only changed the position. So option C is out. And just to be sure, looking at D, my hats have been flipped, showing a mirror image. So that is a reflection. Which letters will look the same when reflected in the line? You're allowed to use some scrap paper to draw this if you want to test out whether or not these letters will look the same or different when they're reflected upside down. So the letters that will look the same are B, C, D, E, H, I, O, and X. The pre-image of Mulan's hand is at 4, -2. When reflected, the image is at -4, -2. Over what line was her reflection? So here I know that the original is at 4, -2. So I'm going to take a moment to plot my new image. So we are going to go -4, -2. The question wants to know over what line we used to make our reflection. So I'm going to say that it took place over the y-axis. I hope that you liked my Mulan reference, and for those of you who don't know where that came from, I'm going to play a really short clip of the movie. All right, thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you in my next video.